Hi, my name is Matt Schulteis, and this is my week one assignment on the sports media case study about Dan Gilbert's open letter to LeBron James in the summer of 2010. The story about Dan Gilbert's open letter to LeBron James broke because of the decision that LeBron had on ESPN a few days prior. Uh, Dan Gilbert published the open letter on the Cavaliers website for everyone to see, and from that point, basically social media took over. People were tweeting about it. People were saying, "You need to check this letter out. You need to read this." Mainstream media was covering it. Papers were covering it because it was a huge story. Because it was a story about basically Dan Gilbert being able to voice his frustrations, to vent out everything he's feeling towards LeBron James in an open letter to the Cavalier fans. In social media, there was a lot of people on Twitter were tweeting in disbelief, "Oh my gosh, you've got to read this letter that Dan Gilbert wrote," or "Have you read this open letter from Dan Gilbert?" There was also people tweeting support for Dan Gilbert. In fact, one of the evidences that Dan Gilbert had a lot of people supporting him was a tweet by Rachel Nichols, where in 2010, in December, she tweeted that there was a lot of people that found Dan Gilbert to be a hero for what he wrote in the Cleveland area because of what happened with LeBron. Dan Gilbert wasn't the only person that received support from this, though. Overwhelmingly, people supported LeBron's decision to make it, to decide which team he wanted to go to above all else. One of those people was the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who wrote a scathing letter to Dan Gilbert, accusing him of using slave language and treating LeBron like a runaway slave. So there was definitely a lot of support on either side, but overwhelmingly more so on LeBron's side. Social media was big with this story because as people continued to share it, to retweet it, as more and more people were able to view it, people who may not follow the NBA or weren't even fans of sports, they got to take a look at it, got to read it, and got to actually form opinions about it. So this helped to form with the mainstream media because as mainstream media is seeing that more and more people are interested in this, maybe this is a story we should carry on something that's not a sports news channel. That's how something like this became a huge story. I think the significance with this particular story, with the Dan Gilbert open letter, was just basically, when there was so much media scrutiny already on what LeBron was going to decide and where he was going to go play as a free agent, then to add this letter where, um, Dan Gilbert basically takes a shot at LeBron and questions everything about him and guarantees that they'll win a championship before him. This was just fuel for the fire for not only social media, Twitter, Facebook, anything like that, but also for ESPN, for newspapers, for things like Sports Illustrated, all those things. This gave them um, just a whole new avenue to continue to talk about LeBron, to continue to talk about sports and Dan Gilbert. And this really was an explosive story when it came out. There was many, many people who were just very angry with LeBron. There was many people who were very angry with Dan Gilbert, like Jesse Jackson. And so all of these media outlets, Twitter and the social media, was instrumental because it gave people an outlet, normal people that just have Twitter accounts, to voice their opinion, as opposed to in mainstream media where you're hearing the opinion of whatever the network may be or whoever's the host or the anchor. So this was a giant story at the time. Now that we're a few years removed from the letter and the decision that LeBron made, it's easy for us to look back now and see that it's been very successful for LeBron James, winning 2 NBA championships, and not so successful for Dan Gilbert, especially with the guarantee that he made that the Cavaliers would win a championship before LeBron would.